Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's vision was about void. So, the vision that I saw was that I was standing on a mountain peak. The mountain represents the material earth. The mountain also represents all my challenges and all the obstacles that were in the path of arriving to this moment. This the highest part of the evolution that I am experiencing at this moment. Not to say there's not a lot more evolution. Of course, there's a lot more evolution. But for me, it's my highest peak at this moment. So I stand there in this peak of a mountain peak. I did my part to arrive at the peak. Now I wait. And I wait in like a meditation where you're still, where you're just awaiting, where you're not thinking. You're just in this void. You are not a person. You are not a personality. You are not anything other than the love. Because when you rise, for me, when I rise, what I'm learning is about the whole existence of everything is love. Everything is love. And you go through all these like trials and tribulations and challenges and obstacles and everything, but in the heart, in the bottom line is love and compassion. So when you realize that, when I realized that, I was at the top of my mountain. And now, today, I await. And I await for synchronicity. I love this whole synchronicity. My goodness, yesterday I went down the hill to San Remo and I bought a lot of groceries. And I had 2 granny carts full of stuff, flowers and potted flowers and lots of like olives and artichokes and just a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I don't know what happened, but I had 2 granny carts full of heavy stuff. And so while I was driving up the mountain, because I live in a hill in the Mediterranean, the hills of the Mediterranean, San Remo. So while I was driving up there, I'm saying, okay, let's play this game. If I'm doing all the meditation and I'm doing all this stuff that my guides want me to do, okay, I want parking. I want good parking, not at the bottom where I have to walk up some stairs with all this stuff. I want good parking, and I want someone to help me bring this stuff down to my house because, all the little roads are piggly wigglies and no really cars can fit in, especially on my street. So I'm like, okay, show your stuff, right? And so I'm driving up there, and it's super hard to find parking for a 9-passenger car. But I go up and I see a parking, and I'm like, oh yeah, that could be good. And then I go into this little parking structure that's the closest, and I see one. I'm like, yeah, that could be good too. And then straight ahead, I just have to drive straight ahead, and there was a parking spot waiting for me. And I'm like, thank you, thank you. So that to me was a synchronicity that, yeah, you do your part, and we'll do, the guides or whoever, or the spirits or whatever, will show you something too. And so I'm like, okay, great, great. So I'm walking with my 2 granny carts, right? Just walking, pulling them basically. And I stopped to get some homemade olive oil that I've been looking for. And this woman, she's like, oh yeah, I have my last one. So that was super fun. And then I go up to where they have all the bars and the gelato store, and it was full. And I didn't see anybody I knew. There was a lot of new people. And so I decided to park my granny carts right on the top of all the stairs to go down to the house, right? So I parked there with the flowers. It was beautiful. I should have taken a picture. So I was just, so I parked it there, and then I go into one of the bars, one of the cafe, to have a little drink, like a little beer, just waiting. I'm going to wait for a sign. So I go in, I sit down inside. I don't see anybody. I go sit down inside, and I have my little tiny beer because they come miniature, right? And I'm eating some little, it's aperitif time. It's 6 o'clock, so there's like aperitivo and, all this stuff. So I was just sitting there minding my own business, and I thought, oh, let me go to the store because there's tapenade or something, right? And so I go over there and they're closed. And as I'm coming back to the cafe, I see a friend. I'm like, hi. And he's like, hi, you want to have a drink with us? Because he was there with some French people. So I'm like, okay, great. So I sit down and I'm enjoying this conversation. And all of a sudden, they leave, right? And he has some bags to go down to his house. And he has to walk through my street. And I said, will you help me with this? And he's like, sure. So it was another huge synchronicity. He's pulling it all down there. And it was perfect. Like, I couldn't orchestrate it better. My guides or spirits or whoever did that to me. So in my vision that I saw, that I'm standing on the peak of my material existence, right? The mountain represents the material existence. I'm just standing there waiting for a synchronicity. And that's what I was doing yesterday. I was just waiting for a great parking spot, or I was waiting for someone to help me. I mean, that was like amazing. So now on this drawing, this vision, I'm awaiting. I'm just standing there waiting for a sign, synchronicity, something that will pull me to my next step. Something that will pull me to my next step. Something that will pull me towards my passion. Something that will pull me towards my gifts. Something that will pull me to compassion. So I just stand in my full glory, in love, awaiting in my stillness. Let me read to you what came through. The title is Awaiting. I am standing in my highest evolution of this moment of my lifetime. I'm now standing in the void, awaiting a sign of synchronicity that will hold my hand into the next step in my journey. I await in meditation. I await in stillness. I await for guidance. I await in the love that I created and the love that leads me to all. I was required to arrive at the peak of my earth. Now I await to be pulled into my purpose, to enjoy the sharing of my gift and compassion. That was a beautiful vision today. And the funny thing is that usually I meditate and then I go into like a vision things and I light a candle. And today, when I open my eyes for my meditation, ready to like see what I, vision or something, the candle was turned off. And I'm like, that's super weird. And so, there was this thought that just dropped in saying, don't rely on external things. And I'm like, God, it's a candle. It's just light. And they didn't want me to rely on external thing. And another thing is that, I have Spotify. In the last 3 days, Spotify is not working. For some reason, I don't know. I tried in all this, like the password and the thing, and it's just not working. And today I wrote about it. I'm like, so what's happening with the music? The music rises me and it gets me in that beautiful state of like bliss and stuff. And again, they said, we don't want you to rely on an external thing. We want you to rely on the internal, what you could create internally. Do not rely externally. So that was my vision, and those were my guidance today, I guess. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to share my world with you. And from the Italian Riviera, arrivederci!